Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight for our Village of Alsip committee meeting. Today is October 24th, 2022, and we'll call this meeting to order at 7:33 p.m. Can you call the roll, please?
Trustee Dalzell?
Here.
Trustee Juarez Mendoza is absent. Trustee McLaughlin?
Here.
Trustee Murphy?
Here.
Trustee Navas Barza is absent. Trustee Parada?
Here.
Mayor Ryan?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we start with our officer reports, I'd like to go out of line here and facilitate it. We've got a few professionals in the audience we'd like to hear from regarding the committee reports this evening, and certainly we want to be cognizant of their time. If we would, please, I'd like to start off with, I guess we'll go finance. I thought this was under insurance. We'll go finance, Trustee McLaughlin.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're right, though. It should be moved under insurance as opposed to finance.
Yeah, we'll do that next time around, but go ahead if you want to do your report there.
Well, we'll start with number 6, which
Yes.
is a review / approval of property and casualty insurance, the change in rates for the renewal date of 12/1/22.
So Tony Evans is here from Horton Insurance. Tony, go ahead if you want to let us know about these insurance changes.
I gave you a packet that it starts with an email from Tony concerning Heritage and the cost of that. And then I'm going to let Tony talk about that, but can I summarize for just a moment, Tony? So our rate, I also included in the handout that I gave you the property casualty premiums that we're going to be looking at. I got to get to the right page. It's like page 6. Where's it at? The rate sheet. Yeah. It's like page 6.
Yeah, go to page 4.
That's the one I want. Okay, so page 4 looks at the top of it. It says exposure comparison, and so this is showing what the building values were, the different values of total insurance, the vehicles, general liability, so forth. And then if you flip back to the premium comparison, which is one page back, it shows what we are paying right now, which is $467,972 a year, based on the property values that you saw on the other page. And it's going to be going up to $696,941, mainly driven by the property values of Heritage. And I'm going to let Tony talk now.
Sure. Thank
Well,
you.
before we get to Tony, can we actually identify the portion of the premium that belongs to Heritage versus?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
because, I mean, I couldn't tell from reading the schedules exactly how much related to Heritage.
I
But
have-
we need to make sure to charge that to the Heritage complexes as opposed
Correct.
to-
It will be allocated appropriately, and in fact, the long sheet that's with this is actually the by building allocation of the premium.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, trustees, thank you for the invitation this evening. So I'll dive right into the, I guess we could call it the elephant in the room, but over the last several, and I'm talking 8 to 10 years, we've had a single statement of values that we've been provided year after year, estimating what and these are not market values, these are replacement costs of these buildings if they were to be destroyed in a fire, and what the cost is to rebuild these. There's two major things. It's the Heritage Apartments, which essentially doubled in value, and we also have the water towers, which accounts for maybe $8 million of those dollars. So about 2 years ago, you joined ICRMT, Illinois County Risk Management Trust, and it's one of the more successful trusts in the country. One of the things that you get out of it is for each of their members, every 3 or 4 years, they provide a third party provided by Duff, the formerly Duff and Phelps, it's Kroll, and they gave you an inventory of replacement costs for every building, every outbuilding, and all contents for everything that this village owns. They were actually, out of that, there were 13 buildings that weren't even on the schedule to begin with. And so your replacement cost value, it's referred to as TIV, T-I-V, total insured values, have gone from 106 million all the way up to 190 million. And that is driving the cost of the insurance increase this year. Now, the apartments, of that 189 million, the apartments are accounting for 132 million of that. That's about 70%. And of the premium, it's 202,000 of the 276,000 that the village is paying. Am I going too quickly?
No.
Some of these numbers? Okay. So, to give everyone a little bit of history, I think it was about 8 years ago that we actually separated, that they were separate, these heritage apartments, and it made sense to bring these in together under one program. And that's when that was done, and that's why that was done. So if you break it down to a rate per $100 of value, those heritage apartments, the rate is about 15 cents per 100. And if you were to go out in the commercial marketplace, anything under 20 cents is a very good deal. And we're here to have a discussion today saying that this is what's been, this is what the appraised value is now. I have no reason to doubt its accuracy. They're very good at what they do. The report's probably 85 pages long and provides a detail for every one of your locations. So that, in a nutshell, is what's driving the increase on the property insurance. Now, I'd just like to give you a quick summarization of ICRMT. It was formed in 1983. They have 445 clients. It's all public entities based in Illinois. They have let me make sure I have these numbers correct. They have 158 municipalities. They have 65 counties, Illinois counties, out of 102. My point is that out of their 450 clients, they're all public entity. Their retention rate is about 98%, and I feel that they provide the best coverage for the best price in the commercial marketplace. They provide property, inland marine, crime, general liability, public official liability, employment practices liability, law enforcement legal liability, auto liability, cyber liability, and excess. Now, for the purposes here this evening, I didn't know if you wanted to go through the various coverages by line, but I just really wanted to touch on the really what's driving the increase in the insurance, especially this year.
Tony, one of the things we had a conversation about, too, was splitting these policies and separating Heritage to have its own policy. What would be the ramifications of that?
Residential apartments in an urban setting are not considered target markets. It's a difficult class of business. And because you are a public entity, actually the village of Alsip, with its fire department, its police department, et cetera, helps lower the rate on these heritage apartments. As I said before, the rate would it is 15 cents now, and that would that would go up by about 50% in the commercial marketplace with not as good a coverage for those apartments if we were to separate it out from Alsip's program. So the likes of Travelers, Chubb, AIG, Hartford, and they're also public entity specific carriers such as Britt, Glatfelter, and others, and it's just not a line of business that they'd be interested to write. that answer your question?
Yes, I think we had guesstimated that the premium for Heritage alone would be about $300,000,
Yes.
just for them alone, if we were to separate them off.
Right. It would be more than the overall premium for the entire property program.
So, like, as you said, Mr. Evans, historically, we've been using a number we provided, for assets.
Yeah.
And based on the asset discovery inventory, thank you, that we did recently, they're saying that they found more there, plus they're revaluing the properties at the same time then, too.
Yeah, I think a good way to look at it is if you look at what the cost per square footage has been historically, for some of these locations, it was as low as $75 a square foot. And I mean, you can't build a pole barn for that these days. And so the apartments on average came out to about $210 to $212 per square foot, which in this day and age I think is very reasonable. Another thing that's driving this is obviously inflation, the cost of materials, labor, the amount of time it takes to rebuild these locations all comes into play. Had we done this a year ago, that number would have been higher, but your village gave a lot of time to these folks that came in there and did a very good job estimating and providing this analysis.
The company that was doing the fixed asset appraisal, or was it industrial appraisal?
Industrial appraisal.
Yeah. They didn't have a cost on the Heritage Complex?
Yeah, they had a building. That was an appraisal cost, not a replacement cost. That's the appraisal of what it would sell on the market. But we're waiting on that appraisal back from industrial right now.
Okay.
They were just here last Monday.
Yeah, they were
Tuesday.
just here last week.
So
yeah.
we're waiting on that to come back.
So,
But I mean, that service, that's done every so many years, right? Industrial appraisal?
Correct.
right.
Every 5 years or something? So,
It's imperative that you understand the difference between market value and replacement cost. And so the appraisal that we're talking about, that Joyce is referring to, has more to do with accounting figures, depreciation,
Right,
assets, et cetera. These Heritage apartments were built, I think, in the late 50s, early 60s, and it's brick/masonry construction. And if you lose a third of one, then you have to rebuild it with like kind and quality. And that's what's driving up the price of these things. It really doesn't have anything to do with what the market value is per se. It has to do with construction values and time to rebuild in the event a tornado or a fire, God forbid, takes out one of those buildings.
Tony, when's the last time did, I know you're the broker, but this number is based on what the carrier, like you said, ICRMT is telling us that we're going to pay. When's the last time was an asset inventory done?
Prior to this one?
Yeah.
I always relied on Joyce's predecessors to provide the statement of values with the estimated replacement cost for all of your properties. And that's typical.
Right. Because I just did some quick math there based on the worksheet that you gave us, and they're valuing both Heritage 1 and Heritage 2 apartments. And again, for the benefit of folks that don't know what we're talking about, the Heritage apartments are owned by the Village of Alsip. These are almost 30 buildings for folks 55 and older, and there's 515 apartments overall at these facilities, built-in pools, clubhouses, and whatnot. Yeah, too. These are an enterprise zone that both of them are located, and they're saying here that these properties are valued basically at $130 million, $225,562.
That's
sound about right?
replacement cost.
I get it.
Yeah, okay.
That's to replace if everything went south. If there was just a horrible scenario, right? It's $130.2 million. Okay. So obviously, we're not, and this renews when, again, Mr. Evans, when?
We're over 30 days away.
January 1?
No,
December 1.
December 1?
yeah.
I'm sorry, December 1. Okay.
Now, it's a matter, from my perspective, of balance sheet protection. So when you're talking about $130 million, there are other ways in which you can insure these buildings at, say, actual cash value. And so let's say something was $8 million. If it were to be a total loss, you wouldn't get the $8 million. You'd get the depreciated value of that property, and it might end up being $4 million. But what I don't want to do is have a conversation with the people in this room that if there is a total loss, the village is going to be out 50% of what they should get from replacement costs.
Oh, certainly, no, we understand that. So we're talking, I just want to double check the difference center. So we're talking a difference, an increase, I should say, of $228,969, call it $229,000.
I have to,
And then,
what the exact is, right?
and then, Mr. Evans, did you say, or Joyce, I know we had a worksheet here. Obviously, we'll have to break it out later. But just to show, I would just show the overall value of the properties. But Trustee McLaurin, as you said, the worksheet actually does break out the annual premium for all of those properties at the same time then, too.
I can't read the prints.
I know, there's a lot here. We'll tally it up, and I can send this back to an email with all the
Yeah,
trustees.
there's no spreadsheet. It's a lot easier to.
I just couldn't get it to fit on 11 by 14 very well.
Understood. Yeah, if you could, please, thank you. Yeah, send it back so everybody understands. And as Trustee McLaurin said, we need to be cognizant of that when we're evaluating projects and everything else that we need to do there, too.
Yeah, there's so much scrutiny right now on property values because in the event there is a loss, these adjusters come in and they will look and see if this matches up to, if it's anywhere close. If not, then there's going to be that much more scrutiny in terms of what else is on the schedule. It's so nice to have a third party give this to you and give it the stamp of approval and make sure that it's correct.
Trustees, any other questions for Mr. Evans? No. Tony, thanks for coming out tonight. Let us know.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
We can go out to the insurance marketplace. It's going to be a lot more money, and we have the information for all these properties. Would you want to see what it would be in the commercial marketplace?
I would, but I would think that would have been done already, no? I mean, did you already did your comparisons?
I've had some discussions with ICRMT on this, and I just need direction on, how you wanted to approach this.
Because how can we do that? Can we? Are you suggesting an extension before we sign a new policy?
No, I mean I think that but we can get some indications from the insurance marketplace very quickly to turn this around, just for the apartments. But I don't want to mislead you, or I want to make sure I'm clear that what we come up with the insurance marketplace is going to be far, far more than what we're showing here.
We're already assuming a $229,000 increase here, and I hate to think by just giving a nod or whatever that we just signed up for more work, it's going to cost us more money. What do you think the cost of the additional work is going to cost?
The additional work on our end?
Yeah.
Oh, it's not going to cost you anything.
Okay. I would say sometime, you didn't say that, and I don't want to assume either. So,
yeah, right. No.
If you could, yes. Obviously, we'd appreciate knowing if we can do better.
Okay.
All right. I didn't want to initiate a study of some type that I felt was already a qualifying circumstance as far as this was concerned here, that's all, so.
We have 2 weeks until the board meeting,
Right.
so if Tony can get this back before the board meeting to have that comparison, would we possibly be in a position to approve
Sure.
which way we're going?
Well, yeah, I mean, you're the one that approves it, so.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Well, no, I mean, it'd be a board approval, but I'd sign a contract with, if you can get that done in a couple weeks, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Okay.
And one other thing on a side note is, he included the cyber liability in here. The rumblings are that most insurance companies are trying to get away from cyber insurance. And so there's going to be talk about retentions down the road. We aren't there yet. In other words, a very high deductible. Right now, we're looking at a deductible of $25,000 on this policy, which we had a deductible of $5,000 before. And so this is going to be $23,000 for this cyber insurance, just so you're aware.
Tony, you and I were talking before the meeting, too. When you give us that next submittal, can you show me the differential, like you said, that for the, which insurance was that we were talking about again then, too?
The cyber liability?
That was cyber we were talking about? Okay. Okay. We didn't actually use the title. You just said there's some insurances we can look closer at. That's the one. Fine. Okay.
Yeah, and for the cyber liability, we went out to about 15 carriers, and thankfully you recently implemented 2FA or MFA, multi-factor authentication, which makes it's not available otherwise, is my point. And thank goodness that you did that, and we've been talking for 8 months on that.
Of the number of carriers you went out to, probably 50% of them declined or did not offer coverage. It's getting harder and harder to get coverage.
All right. Thanks, Tony. Yeah, no, we look forward to what you come back with then, too.
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tony. Yep.
Okay, next. We'll come back to Finance Trustee McGlohorn. The next one I had on here, and then we had some folks in the room with attorneys, was the, under my report, was a, I'm sorry, this is under ordinance and legislation, my apologies. Trustee Peretta, regarding a 6B.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I have a request to approve the renewal of a 6B tax incentive for Dalbart Cromwell at 12701 South Ridgeway and Alsip, Illinois. I do believe we have somebody here that represents the Cromwell business, do we? All right.
Good evening,
Evening.
Mr. Mayor, Madam Clerk, trustees. My name is Brian Liston, and I'm here on behalf of Cromwell Dalbert, and we are up for a renewal. We initially were approved in 2010 by Alsip, and we had promised we would increase the workforce to 40 employees from the original 32. We're at 48 employees. We initially said we were going to put $300,000 of improvements into the property. We put $500,000 into the properties. Two of the principals from Dalbert Cromwell are here tonight as well, and we are embedded into the Alsip community and appreciate everything, and have benefited by the 6B in order to put more money into our property, retain quality workers, and go out and recruit quality workers because of the 6B incentive, and that's why we're here tonight to ask for the renewal, a request for the renewal, and but more importantly, appreciate what Mayor Ryan has done for the town, the trustees, everyone involved in the Alsip process.
So, thank you, Mr. Liston. I was just looking at our packets here. We've got the application that you submitted, and Dalbert Cromwell is here this evening as well, too. So, no, as you said in here, in 2010, you employed 48 full-time employees, and now an additional 10. Since 2010, your company's invested over $500,000 in improvements. Now, with new plans, you're going to renovate the office space, another $150,000 there. And then you gave us a breakdown as far as the benefit of the 6B, and obviously, simply put, is the retention of a good company that's been there for a number of years. How long did you say you've been at that location over at 127th Street?
2000 at a portion of it, and this portion has been 2010. We
Okay.
have been increasing the size of our campus
Okay.
in Alsip.
Since 2000. And as far as the but-for condition statement, without the assistance of the Class 6B renewal tax incentive, the applicant will be unable to continue its expansion, complete future projects, maintain current equipment, or may be faced to lay off employees or potentially find a new facility with a lower tax burden. Applicant has determined that without the incentive, the heavy tax rate for the site will make future expansion and growth infeasible. Conclusion, based on the foregoing, the applicant requests that the Village of Alsip review its Class 6B renewal tax incentive request and approve the resolution supporting and consenting to the 6B renewal for subject property. Should you, okay, then Brian, you have your information here too. I'm sorry, Mr. Rogers did, yeah, too, at your office. Certainly, we want to do everything we can to be business-friendly, and Dalbert Cromwell serves several industries across the globe, including aerospace and military, automotive exports, heavy equipment, and the metal working fields. Dalbert is qualified by the U.S. Department of Defense to supply some of the highest quality corrosion inhibitor products and critical applications. Dalbert also works closely with oil and gas energy field, as well as the growing renewables field. Dalbert offers a complete line of corrosion preventative solutions for renewables in the industry, and partnered with OneSource. Basically, it's a Norway-based preservation solution provider for onshore and offshore oil and gas and offshore rig preservation, including the U.S. arm of the company headquartered in Alsip. Dalbert also has wings in Mexico, Europe, China, and Brazil. Very, very good. Trustees, did you have any questions for Dalbert Cromwell or Mr. Liston?
Yeah, but I appreciate the company, and they've always been good to the village, and hope to continue our relationship. Thank you.
I was explaining before the meeting, it just happened too, that that is a growing neighborhood for business in your neck of the woods. There's the new 40,000 square foot development that's going up right now across the street. I'm not sure the exact title yet for that, but that's 3600 127th Street that's going up right now on the 8 acres of property. Stan's Donuts just moved in behind you back there with Labriola Bakeries, Doughboy it's called. And then even Tarp House just is doing their part. They just put in a major expansion with parking and whatnot back there too. It's a growing area. And La Criolla is looking to expand and put in test kitchens and so forth. So no, it's really a growing area back where you're at then too. And certainly we wish you the best with growing and obviously staying in our village too at the same time yet too. So what I'll do, gentlemen, is at our next board meeting, which will be the first Monday of November, we'll put this on the agenda and ask for approval on it, and then we'll send it back to our attorney to work with Mr. Liston's firm then too. So we'll let you know all the terms and everything else of the renewal. Okay. Thank you very much for coming in tonight yet too.
Mayor, on a side note, I just want you to know what a privilege it is to do business here in Alsip, and the trustees, Madam Clerk, and I will tell you, this is my primary line of business. I've written all these incentives, and I do not go a week without getting a call about how great the Village of Alsip is, the mayor, the trustees, and the Village of Alsip is open for business. And we provided a letter for the vote that 31 buildings that had been abandoned, vacant, or underused because of the trustees and the mayor have been occupied because of the spirit of the trustees, the mayor, and the inertia that's going on in this town. So the Village of Alsip is open for business, and I'm proud to represent not only Dalbert Cromwell, but to be part of it. And Roger Early and I have a great relationship. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I just want to say thank you very much also for the pictures. It really helps to get a visual of your operation. I mean, when you're just reading, you lose some of that. So, and then saying, as somebody who actually works
Very
in
impressive.
manufacturing.
And 45 years, is your apprenticeship going to be over soon? Congratulations.
Thank you, guys.
All right. We'll finish it with our reports then. We'll go back to, I'll start with mine, was a discussion and a request to approve having the village attorney draft a resolution that approves spending ARPA money, which otherwise is known as the American Rescue Plan Act monies. I gave everybody I put a hard copy in your mailboxes, and I have met with the department heads mostly that are mostly affected by this yet, too. And give me 1 second.
This place my list.
That's what you get. Can I use yours? Thank you, Rita. Right. So in here, some of these monies, actually, the part of our fiscal budget for fiscal 23, and Joyce, you can speak to some of this too. We've already got many of these projects were already in our budget and stuff then too. I met with water and I met with Public Works, and going down, I'll quickly go through this. The Public Works Department has a sewer project that's remaining. It's a water reclamation high priority lining of 6,400 linear feet of pipe. That was a $556,000 project. Next project on here was with the Water Department from 115th place from Kenneth to Joellis, engineering fees valued at $75,000. Next was a water project, 116th place from Kenneth to Knox, engineering fees of $50,000. Next project, water again, 118th place on Karlov to Tripp and upgrade the water system. That was $500,000. Next was a sewer project, MWRD area to clean and televise 31,000 linear feet of pipe. That was $123,000. Next was a sewer project as well, MWRD again, clean and televise and oversight of Mike didn't have the exact address on here, but that was $17,000. Next was a sewer project, 2022 MWRD annual reporting and GIS mapping. That was $12,000. Next was a water project, again, you know what? I got to double check. I think this might be a typo. I was taking this from something else, so I'm not going to include this. It was an engineering fee of $75,000, but I want to make sure I didn't duplicate the first one I did under Project B. Caught that this afternoon. Project I, again, was 115th place from Kenneth to Joellis, and this is to upgrade the water system at a cost of $800,000. And then what I'd like to see happen here, I've met with the police department, and I'd like to, we don't have an actual cost on it yet, because I'm just showing you what's left after water and sewer projects is roughly $389,000. And I should stand corrected, too, to say that we were allocated $2.6 million all day from the federal government ARPA spending. So what I'd like to see happen is I'd like to build a two-story heated garage, brick garage, for use by the Alsip Police Department. That would include 2 large doors, 4-car access, with a second floor for additional storage. We only have 1 service garage out there right now that we utilize for evidence or servicing of anything. In any event, we have any issues with vehicles and so forth, we just don't have anything convenient to the police department or village hall right here. We have to go all the way down to Public Works, and that's not the easiest to get a car that won't start over that far. Next, we'd like to improve security here at the village clerk's office, and I don't want to, certainly if this is available to the public as far as FOIAs go, but everyone can see what we're looking to do to increase security here at the village hall. So again, this is roughly a $2.6 million allocation, and we need to have our village attorney draft a resolution to approve the spending for this, because we do have some of this allocated for projects right now and stuff then too.
Mayor, if that's a two-story building that you have a desire for,
Pardon me?
if you're looking for a two-story building, you're going to have to throw an elevator in there.
For the storage upstairs?
It has to be ADA compliant.
We don't have one now, I don't think, do we?
That's because it was
That's
built
'cause
before
after-
ADA.
Yeah. 2012 was the cutover.
Thank you.
Any new construction,
Okay.
so.
Well, if that's the case, if it's cost prohibitive, maybe we'll talk about that then too. Sure. That was actually,
I get your point.
yeah, that was actually Chief Miller's recommendation. He was looking for a little extra storage space and stuff then too, so.
You might find out that the cost of the elevator is going to be just a bigger building.
Gotcha.
$60,000.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah, so we were just looking at that.
About 60 grand.
The design isn't discussed here, but I would like to, I'd like to assist in, if there's a need for more evidence, lockup and so forth, not to mention servicing of vehicles and whatnot, which I make it kind of universal for whatever the best need is at that time and stuff then too. So, I will, as you said, trustee Dalzell, I'll look into that right away just to get a number if that's going to cut into this. At the same time, unless there, please let me know if anybody has any questions, or do you have any questions? Let's do that, yeah.
One area where I have some concern, Mayor, and trustee Dalzell and I briefly talked about this before, but the number of water projects that are on this list, especially with the water being an enterprise fund, to be dedicating ARPA funds to basically a fund that is supposed to be self-sustaining and has an opportunity for very low-interest loans. I think we have other uses for the money for places that can't generate funds the same way water can.
Understood. Joyce, did you want to speak to that too?
There will be different requirements to use this money in terms of a revenue loss type situation as opposed to the approved project categories that are already there for ARPA. Water and sanitary were already approved, so it would require different reporting and justifications for those projects. So anything like the police garage and the security that you were talking about is going to require different justifications.
No, but I'm also thinking like we desperately need expansion and remodeling of the Public Works garage. To me, that is a much better use of these kind of funds, again, than going towards water.
Ballpark figures we got, and that was a couple of years ago, would exceed $5 to $6 million to do that. That's what Dan Trivens
Latest
submitted.
updates that we have is $4 million to take the old Public Works garage and turn it into a police garage, and $7 million to do the addition that we talked about with Public Works to make the water department out there, to expand for the water department.
Unless you're going to move the police department into Public Works, the garage for the police department over there will never work.
I would agree. That's why I'm trying to put something closer to the house over
We
here.
haven't talked.
Yeah. But even to expand it to add for like the water department, they were talking $5 million to do something like that, which would obviously far exceed what we were getting here. That would be almost something, and I don't know
That
that,
almost doesn't make sense. I mean,
Danny Tribun turned that in about 2 years ago. And that was then. That was not at the peak dollars building materials are at now.
We just got updated quotes this last spring,
And what were they?
7 million and 4 million.
7, okay.
Yeah.
So, and I understand there's a need, for something like that, but at the same time, to spend $7 million to house, I don't have a number of assets under my hat right now to bring that out, but I don't know if it's justified at this time. I know they need it, but I don't know if it's less expensive because you're talking just a garage space, more or less,
well, and that's what I'm saying. I can't believe that it would be $7 million for just a garage space.
That's what we were told.
That's what it's made of.
It's a duplicate of the Public Works building with a interchange in between the two buildings, so we would be knocking down the two houses back there, and also, and then putting up basically a duplicate of the Public Works building. I don't say that, they have a training room and all kinds of stuff, locker room, that kind of thing, as opposed
it's
to what they
overkill.
have now.
Well, maybe
What
maybe
they
not,
need.
but right now, they're in some tight quarters right now yet, too.
Mm-hmm.
And they are,
No, and that's why I'm saying to me that's a higher priority, that we do something there, as opposed to the funding of water projects that can fund themselves. That's what
Well-
I'm saying.
again, some of these projects already were included in your budget that you've already approved.
Right, right, but that's, I mean, it's a normal course, that's what the water fund's for, is the constant redevelopment of it.
But I'm saying that water fund didn't go as far as we wanted to make it to some of these projects.
We're supposed to be
Yes.
rehabbing a mile a year.
Right.
We have 54 miles.
Right.
We're not making that. So this was kind of a bump to start us in that direction, to get to where we can do a mile a year.
Right. And I'd like to discuss Project K at some point in time. Not today and not online, but
Oh, sure, absolutely. And again, trustee, I would, it's just a concept, but yeah, no, absolutely, whatever you think. And this isn't in stone yet, and certainly I want everybody to take a look at it, and Joyce and we can certainly double check our figures as well, too. I already met with Water, like I said, and Public Works, and we actually did take one project off of here that we referred back that didn't have to be funded right here, right now, and we saved, we were able to put another $280,000, $238,000 rather, toward security here at the village and stuff then too, so. So I'm not ready for this, but we do need to get this done sooner than later, so I'll bring this up again at the next meeting and see if there's any concerns. And in the meantime, I'll work on trying to get some costs done too. Okay. Next, we had Clerk Harding's report. I'm sorry, I just had a quick note here too. Two things real quick. Is this coming, here it is, 27th. Just a reminder, this week, Thursday, the 27th, from 5 to 6 p.m., I'll be here at the Village Hall with State Representative Fran Hurley and State Senator Bill Cunningham for a cost-saving seminar that we're going to be helped with through ComEd, help discuss saving solar energy, preventing consumer fraud, and other topics residents are concerned about. And I'd also like to acknowledge, he's not here this evening, but Mike Frater and I, last Friday, went to the new MWRD facility known as Big Marsh. Mike had this acknowledgement. He had a really nice, and I'll have him bring it with him to the next board meeting, he had a real nice glass trophy that MWRD gave him. This is from, I apologize if I don't pronounce the name right, but Gulong Tyne. He's a PhD with MWRD. This is a principal environmental scientist. He says, "Dear Mike, it is our great pleasure to inform you that the Village of Alsip has been selected to receive the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District Greater Chicago's 2022 Biosolids Beneficial Reuse Award. We look forward to announcing this honor at the MWRD's 10th Annual Sustainability Summit on Friday, October 21st, 2022, to be held at the Ford Calumet Environmental Center at 11555 South Stony Island." I'll tell you, I thought I knew every street and alley in the city. I have never been to that property before and stuff. That's amazing. And it's a beautiful facility, too. It's behind Harborside Golf Course. It's all the way back where the steel plants are at, on 115th and Stony. And there's bike pads, there's a park back there. I mean, it's just a beautiful facility, that MWRD. This used to be the garbage dump back in the day, and it basically, they renovated into just a beautiful park now and stuff back there, too.
We're supposed to put one of the runways from the third airport was going to go there. That's what Stony Island is.
Seriously, I didn't know that, Chief.
Yep.
So basically, they said, congratulations on receiving this prestigious honor. So Mike and I were there Friday at 10 o'clock, and we had multiple presentations, and there was like 3 or 4 communities for different things that they've done, and for MWRD programs, through MWRD programs. And what they were doing is they were recognizing our program at the boat launch for the green infrastructure project that's going out there, and they had a whole display with pictures and everything else, and we were there to acknowledge Mr. Frater and say what a great job Mike's done by not only just overseeing, we went out, we got donations to take up, there's 3.5 acres there, and we got donations to take up all the asphalt. Mike's guys, MWRD and the Morton Arboretum, they supply all the biosolids. They spread them all. We did the mulch path applications. There's over 250 trees that have been planted out there for this, and we've got more ideas coming. I'm working with some artists right now to actually maybe put some artwork out there that speaks to who Alsip is yet, too. So we're working on a couple ideas with that, but it was nice to see Mike Frater get acknowledged for his hard work out there, then, too. So that's all I had for this evening. We'll go to Clerk's report. Clerk Harding.
Thank you, Mayor. I have the presentation of the October 17th, 2022 board meeting minutes, and that is all I have.
All right, thank you. Actually, I did get a message from, I'll have something at our next meeting from our village engineer about the sidewalk program. I'm going to talk to him tomorrow. Public forum, did anyone in the audience wish to address the board tonight? We had one person. Ma'am, come on up.
I just wanted to ask if there was a follow-up with the Hamlin vacant lot for Saratoga yet?
There is. I believe they've got that scheduled for
November 2nd or 3rd?
November, it's the Wednesday, yeah, when, you know what, I'm sorry, I got a calendar right here. They always meet it'll be like the first Wednesday of the month, so yes. Clerk just said it's November 2nd, and that's a 7:30 PM meeting here. And that'll be that's a plan commission hearing.
I'm sorry?
It's a plan commission, not with the board yet, because they tabled that, they tabled that project for more information, and I just saw Sertoma, and they submitted a really nice plan, so he wants to represent that and stuff then, too, okay? You're going to love it.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure I will.
Okay. No, it looks good. It's a nice plan, and obviously, we let the petitioners entitled to come back and resubmit, and we welcome any comment at that time, too. So it'll be another board here. Obviously, the Plan Commission will be here.
Is it under 35 feet tall?
I couldn't tell you. I'm going to say yes, because it wasn't the original at 3 floors?
Yeah.
The new one's only 2, so, yeah. So I'm going to say yes, it's going to be less than 35 feet. I guess. I saw the prints, I didn't see the actual dimensions.
Sure.
So,
Okay.
I'm sorry you had to wait that long. I would have answered that for you before, but, okay.
It's interesting to learn all about it.
All right.
I appreciate it. We'll see you then.
No worries. Thank you for coming out. Okay.
Good night.
Thank you.
So we'll go to our standing committee reports, Finance and IT, Trustee McGlowan.
All right, as usual, we will have a list of payroll and accounts payable for approval in 2 weeks. And then next, Joyce would like to talk to us about the 2022 tax levy.
So Mayor and I had a discussion briefly a week or two ago concerning what possible changes we might look at in the 2022 tax levy. So there's a little packet that I gave you that has the big budget sheets, and then it also has a 11 by 14, or 8.5 by 14 on the front that's the tax levy. Shows the history of the tax levy on there. And then I gave 2 columns on here. One is with vehicle stickers and one is without vehicle stickers. Because one of the things we discussed this last year is that we're going to have to look at funding road and bridge more. And so we're going to be offloading some of the corporate property taxes to road and bridge. And so with that, we also the mayor and I discussed looking at getting rid of the vehicle stickers, just to see what would happen. So this is a 2.5% increase that I'm showing you right here. If you wanted to follow. So as you can see, there's a pretty big drop in the first line. That's the indirect OPEB levy from 2.8 million to 1.6. the guesstimate with Lauterbach and Amen is that's what our requirements will be after the OPEB trust is up and running. And by the way, they took the money on Tuesday. So
I will say, though, that I have a concern dropping it by that magnitude at this point in time, strictly because, I mean, the entire intention of the huge 2017 tax levy was for that extra funds to go to OPEB, not
Understood.
to go anyplace else. So the fact that we're not decreasing our tax rate, but we're not putting the money towards OPEB anymore greatly bothers me.
okay, we can take it away from Road and Bridge. If that's how you, this was just a proposal. This is what Lauterbach and Amen is estimating is what our required contribution is going to be for OPEB. That's why I put it at 1.6 million. By having the OPEB trust set up, it decreases our requirements for that. So we also have the surplus that we are adding to OPEB on top of the tax levy. So the surplus from the general fund, 60% of it.
It's kind of like the shell games that we were talking about before with the police and the fire pensions. Is that we had established a larger amount to sit there and to decrease the debt that those had, and we came up with the master plan in order to sit there and fund those better in order to put the village in a better position quicker.
Correct.
And the OPEB was the same thing. But if all we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and divert some monies, but then take away some of the ones that we were normally doing anyhow, we're not truly increasing the funding to those as radically as what I think our intent was. And I get what you're saying, that the money has to be used, it goes to door number 1 or door number 2. I get it. But as long as the returns that we're expecting for the OPEB trust to sit there and make up some of it, then I feel more comfortable with it. But I agree with Trustee McLaurin, whereas to sit there and say we're going to take 100% but make it 60% and there's 40% over here, the magic math just, to me, never adds up.
Okay.
And I think, honestly, I mean, the hardest part, I mean, is somebody who had to vote on that tax increase in 2017. That was extremely painful. But as I said, the entire driver for that tax increase was specifically to go to OPEB.
Understood, and at the time you were pay-as-you-go. We're no longer pay-as-you-go. Pay-as-you-go is a different animal.
But at
than
the
what we're
same
in now.
time, I mean, we had already begun discussions of having the trust set up. I mean,
Sure, but
there
it
were a
wasn't
lot
set
of
up.
things that, no, it was not set up, and you did a great job of getting it set up after we had been waiting for quite a while. But it's still, the point is, that was a significant tax increase, and it was dedicated to OPEB.
Well, I'm not against a tax decrease. I mean, if we don't have the requirement for OPEB, then, and you don't want to fund Road and Bridge, we can certainly decrease. We have a situation, folks, where Road and Bridge is not able to sustain itself. We have to come up with a plan for what we're going to do. Now, we can take some of that 60% that we are currently putting into OPEB, which, by the way, was $6.8 million this last year, on top of the $2.8 that we put in on the tax levy, which gave us the $25 million that we could give to them. So we could take some of that $6.8 million and give that to Road and Bridge. We can redistribute this however you want to redistribute it.
Which is why we're not voting on this today or tomorrow.
That's
but-
why we're having a discussion, yes.
Exactly.
And that's what we're doing.
Right.
Yes,
We're talking.
yes.
So certainly, we could, just for conversation purposes, maybe at our next meeting, let's, as we just said, let's see what that other number.
Leave it
looks
at 2.8 million to OPEB,
Yeah.
and take the surplus money and give what Road and Bridge needs from that surplus. So that our revenues for building permits and those other things are going to go to Road and Bridge. Indirectly, but they're going to be going to Road and Bridge.
Right. The conversation, too, about with stickers and without stickers was overall just, I'm just looking here again.
It was just a discussion. If they don't have stickers, they're going to need about 1.8 million, a little over. And if stickers are only bringing in about 325,000 now. They are certainly not a $400,000 revenue item. That's why the effort and the time and the cost and everything else that goes into it is almost not worth it. So if we get rid of the stickers, how do we make up for that? We have to not only make up for that, we have to supplement. So it's going to be about, with the stickers, guesstimation is about $977,000, and that's why I have all these budget sheets out here. So if you flip the page to Road and Bridge, in your first stapled section that is with vehicle stickers, Road and Bridge is going to need about $997,000 in terms of real estate taxes, or in terms of however we're going to support them. Right now, you can look back and you can see their real estate taxes are pretty minimal. They have not gotten anything this year. So that's with vehicle stickers, and that's assuming a $400,000 revenue, which you're not going to have. We can go without vehicle stickers, and if you flip to the third page of the second packet, they need about $1.1 million.
Well, that's without stickers. In other
That's
words,
without
and that's
stickers.
us applying
Correct.
sticker money to the levy. Right.
Or take it from the surplus.
Right.
Stormwater doesn't change. That's in the first packet, and storm requires $740,000, but their requirements are going to go down because we're going to be implementing a stormwater charge on the utility bill this year. So
Maybe not.
Pardon me?
Well, I mean, that hasn't been approved, so.
No, but that's an assumption. It's a budget you passed, but anyway.
And a budget is not an authority to spend or approve anything. It's a guideline.
It's a concept. In order for stormwater to be viable, they've got to implement a charge. So that's what we implemented into this budget, was starting out at $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, and $500,000 in order for stormwater to pay for themselves. Stormwater was sucking up most of Road and Bridge's money, and so that's why we were kind of offloading some of that over to their own fund. So I will take this back, and I will put OPEB back and just do a 2.5% increase. Is that what you're looking at?
Well, rather than seeing all this, I'd like to just see where that distribution is. I'd like to see what the original and then the what-ifs.
I'm sorry, what?
I would like to see the what-ifs. So what if we were to sit there and continue to fund OPEB as is? What if we sit there and we don't do the vehicle stickers? What if we do the vehicle stickers? You know, obviously, corporate is going to continue to support the Road and Bridge, and to a greater degree. What are the projects that we're looking for moving forward? And I really, it's not my desire to kick the can down the road anymore. We got to address these things and make them right. So,
yeah, by 2025, Road and Bridge is out of cash. They're going to use up their cash.
right.
So we can choose to kind of put them back on their feet.
Yep.
But anyway.
Just how much of an impact, well, we don't know just looking at this, but even the report we just got from our insurance agent, we're going to break out what the Heritage is responsible for, but that's going to impact this. Will this It won't impact it a ton, but we got to figure out where that money's at then, too.
Well, it's not that much of an increase for the general or for corporate. It is a huge increase for Heritage, but Heritage is enterprise fund, they'll pay for their own.
Right,
Or they'll pay their portion.
right.
So you want just a standard 2.5% increase on a levy?
Yes.
Do you want to see anything to do with vehicle stickers in a tax levy, or not? Or,
I think we should look at least what a 2.5 looks like versus a 3, and right in there. Just,
Well, but I think with the vehicles, we have to find out what our true costs are as well. So we acquire the stickers, we administer, we have no idea what that administration fee is.
no,
The
we do know the
postage, the forms.
stickers cost about $20,000,
Around about.
so I know that much anyway.
Right, but I mean, obviously it's going to need some guesstimates, because, I don't know that anyone has a true number of, the industrial rate of your people with regards to the processing, the mailing, the postage, the forms, the remailing, the law enforcement, parking tickets, and, the revenue aspect of that too, because if we're no longer have vehicle stickers, I don't know how many parking tickets are actually writing for that and what the revenue component of it is. So, I mean, there's two edges to that sword.
Sure.
great
the-
question, though. Yeah, exactly. There's a lot that goes in behind the scenes and all the residual.
As well as manpower, even at the window,
Right,
Right,
absolutely.
But that one gets tricky, though, because unless we're going to eliminate heads,
Well, no, but it's just.
you got to be careful.
Right.
The other side of that is enforcement, and I can get a list of all Alsip registered vehicles from the Secretary of State.
Which won't matter because that list is 18 months in arrears.
It's better than what we got.
No, it isn't.
I think the problem, and you and I talked about, well, there's availability to it. The bigger task would be to audit that. Now you're doing age breakdowns and
Yeah.
the veterans and who's this
I
and
challenge you to
that.
sit there and take a look at the foreign domestic registry of businesses and compare that to your business license file.
Actually, we're going to be doing something like that, but anyway.
Please don't.
You know, if I can ask Clerk Harding, maybe when Clerk, if you can give us any kind of a breakdown for that. How much work goes into
Yep.
the sticker program, and just to see what our offset is, to give us an approximate. It's one thing we look at the revenue side of it, but that's not really, like Trustee was suggesting, you could be losing. We're looking at $400,000. We could be losing $100 on the other side of that. What's the real value of that yet?
Where's that cost coming from,
Right.
too? The stickers themselves are bought out of Road and Bridge, but the cost of administration comes out of the clerk's office.
Right. That's what I'm saying. There's a combination here yet.
Yeah.
Now, just to throw a wrench to that whole thing, a lot of places are now increasing rates when it comes to electric vehicles because those vehicles are not paying motor fuel tax, and yet they're still using the roads.
Right. Somebody was going to do that.
It's already started.
The license plate fee.
License plate, Illinois increased the license plate fee by $100 per car for the electric vehicles for just that purpose.
Because I get you. Okay.
Yep. And then you depend upon the fire department to put the fires out for the electric vehicles.
Let them burn. They'll be there burning for a long time.
Confidence, Chief. Yeah.
I,
Do you get a
He's
lot?
confident
Do you get a
that'll
lot?
happen.
Do you get a lot of electric cars? that
oh,
catch
thank
fire?
God, no.
No?
Not yet. It'll, in the next couple of years, you'll see a lot more of it.
Yeah, take a look at with the hurricane, all the salt water that's incurred onto the electric vehicles.
Really? Yeah.
I had a good one.
Any other questions for Joyce on the levy yet? All right, Joyce, we'll work on the differential that we talked about then. Okay. Thank you.
I just want to get a head start this year and get it,
Sure.
not be down to the wire.
All right, next Joyce wants to talk to us about the fiscal year 22 unaudited revenue and expense recap.
Everyone's had plenty of time to go through this, I'm sure. So, highlight general fund excess for 22, and this is unaudited, was $10 million. Road and Bridge lost $201,000. I do have the fiduciary accounts in there, like foreign fire. Motor fuel tax had an excess of $891,000. Obviously, the TIFs, we're paying, TIF 1 is expired, so we're just basically paying it out. TIF 226, which is Pulaski Road TIF, we had an excess of $453,000. TIF Cicero, 123rd and Cicero TIF, we had an excess of $35,000. I'm talking in round figures here, not getting down to the details. Northwest Corner TIF had an excess of $457,000. Don't pay attention to that 2017 bond. The 375 fund has a negative $321,000. That's because we moved a bunch of money back that was sitting in the bond account that shouldn't have been. Same thing for the 2015 bond. The Fund 385 is a negative $125,000. Same thing, we had to move money back. The 400 fund, which is liability and workers' comp, we have an excess of $54,000. And the health insurance, we had an excess of $594,000, which goes towards our health insurance reserves that we have talked about in the past. In Fund 410, which is a Social Security IMRF, is $35,000, which is an excess of $35,000, which is more than likely an accrual situation. That should be a net zero. Fund 501 is water, has a negative $651,000. Sanitary sewer has a negative $432,000. Heritage Fund 1 doesn't exist anymore, so it's zero. Heritage Fund 2 has an excess of $578,000. Fire pension and police pension or fiduciary funds, as well as the police seizure fund, which is $675,000. Fund 700 is the grants, which is got $1.2 million in it. And then there's OPEB that has an excess of $1.5 million. And that is a very high level, quick look at who's doing well and who's not.
Joyce, can you explain to everybody too, when you show the periods, is that, what's the...
Period 1 is May, period 2 is June, period 3 is July.
Asking, right. It's not calendar, but it's fiscal year.
It's
months.
fiscal year, yes.
Okay.
Any questions?
That was on the 2022?
Yes.
Recap? Okay.
Unaudited.
Correct. There will be adjustments, I'm sure.
No, go ahead.
Okay.
All right, next then, we have the presentation of the fiscal year 23 May revenue and expense recap.
So this is also contains additional periods, but we aren't done with those yet. So I'm only looking at period 1 on any of these. Period 1 for the general fund had a negative $972,000. The majority of that is accrued revenue. So the revenue that we brought in May and June, actually, the majority of that was intended to be recognized in the previous fiscal year. So that's why we show a negative in May and June, actually, for the general fund. As you see, we recover quite quickly after that. Road and Bridge, they're looking pretty good right now. Again, their revenues got accrued back to the previous fiscal year on period 1. Same thing for Storm. Storm is just not they don't have really any revenue at this point, so they're going to lose money. So we have to subsidize some of that spending. Foreign Fire, they went out and bought coffee. I'm kidding. I accused him of that the other day. Motor fuel tax obviously is in the black. They have $528,000, but again, their revenue got accrued back in period 1. The Pulaski Road TIF had interest, so that's about all they had in period 1. $123rd and Cicero TIF, again, interest is all they had in period 1 of $90. Northwest Corner, same thing, they had interest. And then we go into the bonds. The 2017 bond, there was no activity. We paid interest in June, and the same thing for the 2015 bond, we paid interest in June. Liability and workers' comp is Fund 400. We are at a negative $91,000. Again, we haven't got all of our transactions done for those previous months, from months 2 through 6 yet. But we were ahead of the game in period 1 by $36,000. Fund 405, which is health insurance, we're at a negative $184,000. Again, we haven't run all the transactions, so we haven't transferred all the money yet. Fund 410, period 1, we're ahead of the game by $10,000, but we're sitting at a negative $49,000. All the payrolls haven't been run yet, so that's why that's a negative. 501, period 1, we're looking at this is water, we're looking at a positive $48,000. Overall, he's ahead by $3.3 million right now. 510, sanitary sewer. They were negative again. Revenues were accrued back in period 1, so they're ahead of the game overall across 6 months by $206,000. Heritage 2, their period 1 was positive $228,000. They're ahead of the game overall by $50,000. Fire pension, police pension, all very dependent upon the markets. The police seizure fund is doing quite well. They're getting a lot of money in so far. 700 is the grant, and we got the additional $1.2 million into the grant fund from the ARPA spending. We're going to be getting the IPRF grant here pretty soon. And then OPEB, again, we haven't got all the transactions done. They were ahead on period 1 by $34,000, and at the end of period 6, it's a negative $354,000, but again, all the transactions aren't finished. So that's just kind of the start of the year. We're playing a lot of catch up right now, and it's almost done. We're in August right now, so we're getting there.
Very good.
All right, and finally on the agenda, Joyce would like us to discuss hiring a temporary part-time employee for scanning.
Well, I thought Joyce, we were going to post it in-house first, right?
We have to have a job description.
Right, we haven't approved the position.
Okay.
I mean, the position currently that Danielle is in basically was originally designed to do scanning. So
Right.
this is an additional position.
Correct. So Tony and I worked on this job description. I did want to bring back one more time, just so you can see. Datamation. The original quote was $56,000. They have capped us out in batch 4 at 207 boxes, but we're hitting our 1.2 million in pages. So to finish the rest of the 70, which would be 38 boxes plus 73 boxes, would be an additional, he dropped the price to 52.6 cents, or 5.26 cents a page. And so the price has gone down now to an additional $31,000 on top of the $56,661. So what I want to explain to you is we are going to have to buy equipment for this person to scan with, because we have oddball equipment, we have oddball paper, I should say, to scan. I've looked at 2 different scanners, roughly a cost, I'm talking roughly, haven't gotten into the details yet, around $17,000 for 2 different machines. And then you're going to be paying for the person, and that was going to be about, with a 6-month, he's only going to be here for 6 months because they'll do the other 6 months at the boat launch, from what I understand. It would be at a cost of approximately $8,000 a year. That's with the Social Security. So we can spend it now or spend it later, or we have a third option. We can just destroy it. It is well beyond the use-by date, and we do not have to retain this document. We can file with the state to destroy it.
So why
Much
even-
less cost.
Why even talk about it?
It's an option.
Did you find out that we've scanned documents that we should have destroyed?
We have a lot that we've scanned that we should have destroyed, yeah.
Terrible. Absolutely a waste.
Okay. I thought the historical value was important, but
Do you feel better about it?
I do, because there's going to be things that we use from that,
Yeah.
to be honest with you.
What are you going to use from 1965?
We haven't scanned 1965. Basically, we've gotten back to the 80s.
Yeah.
And
What are you
what
going to use from 1980?
I can tell you that one of the things that I want to do is I want to be able to capture original cost of things. We've lost a lot of our capital asset information, and I want to be able to capture that original capital asset cost. So a lot of the AP is going to be very valuable to me.
So we don't have those records from industrial appraisals? They've been doing it forever.
No. They have zero cost on some lines that we have no idea.
Joyce, was there a process of, did you go like most recent backward or old forward?
Yeah, pretty much we did the newer
Newer
documents
going
first.
backward?
That's what went first. And
All right.
we've worked our way backwards.
All right.
So what's left is pretty old stuff.
Understood, but we didn't waste time or money doing something that...
No, I don't think so. I don't think so, because I think we'll be using those documents. But that's, again, because I want to capture some information on capital.
And right now, you're saying we're somewhere in the 80s,
Yeah.
the 1980s?
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with the laws on that to see what, you took a class on that recently.
Mm-hmm.
What is the preservation law?
Well, there's certain things we have to keep permanently, and those we will, obviously. Like audits have to be kept permanently. But if we scan them, we can keep them electronically as opposed to paper. So that's the objective for scanning on most things, is that we can now, the thing about destroying, and this is what they talked about in the class I went to, is if you keep it electronically, it's FOIA-able. People can FOIA back to 1965.
If you have the document, they can do it too.
We have the document. So they can FOIA back to that. So if we scan it, we have it available also.
Right.
So they can FOIA back to 1965. I don't know that we want that. They talk a lot about that type of situation a lot in the class, because that is the bulk of work that comes out of retaining records, is the FOIA side of it. And I'm not saying I want to destroy information. That's not the point. It's just how valuable is a record from 1965.
Exactly. And that's the reason why the retention schedules have been built that way.
Correct,
They're not going to allow you to sit there and destroy something that which would be important.
correct. But to continue to hold on to accounts payable from 1965 doesn't make a lot of sense.
Chief, do you have a retention schedule for your department? Do you review that periodically?
Every year?
Right. And I know the police department does the same, did it when I was here. And it stuns me that not all the departments are facilitating that. And we had boxes and boxes and boxes.
They're still,
Right, but I'm just, we stored them never to be seen again.
yep,
And then all of a sudden, it became $60,000 worth of desire to keep them. When they were stored away.
So if we can find out, confirm, as we just said, if we don't need to retain these records, why? I get it. I mean, if it was that easy, so be it. But at a cost right now, I mean, if we brought in even the concept that we talked about of bringing in a part-time person once he's relieved of his duty at the boat launch, if he even worked here 29 hours a week for the next 6 months with insurance and
No insurance.
no, I'm sorry, not insurance. Social Security money, whatever.
I
we
put
have
him
to
at
take.
20 hours
Right.
because I don't know what he works.
It could run roughly. It might be $500 a week all day, but you do that for 6 months. It's $12,000, and all of a sudden, then you get a $17,000 scanner. There's
Well,
29.
it's two pieces of equipment, not one, because it handles different types of paper. But anyway,
Well, even if you bought one, now you're at $29,000. So is it?
you're going to spend it one way or the other.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. But or if what you're saying is we don't have to do as much as we thought, then maybe we wash half of this. I mean,
We washed the end of this.
And I bought my scanners a lot cheaper than that.
Oh, I bet you did. Yeah.
if you can share that, that'd be great.
Do they do ledger paper?
Yes,
The big ledgers that they use?
automatic.
Pardon me?
Automatically, yes.
They do the big ledger papers
Absolutely.
that, okay. Love to know more about them. I was thinking, too, I mean, I don't care. We don't have to have really good equipment. We can replace them, buy them from Walmart and replace them whenever we burn them up.
No, but let's go back to find out how much work are we really looking at then? If we can destroy some of this legally, let's find out where we stand. And we're going to meet in 2 weeks. We'll talk to the board about it in 2 weeks when we meet again.
Okay.
All right.
The total year date you have here at 63,000 and change?
No, the year-to-date is 56,661. I confirmed that with him today.
Okay, thank you.
All right, that is finally all I have under finance, ma'am.
All right, thank you. We got that advertised as an RFP for all that, the police department flooring and stuff, just so you know.
Oh, excellent, thank you. Chief will be pleased.
So, next, hey, Trustee McLaurin, anything else?
No, that's it, Mayor.
Okay, thanks. We'll go to the fire committee report, rather. Trustee Murphy?
I have a discussion and request to approve awarding a contract to one of 3 consultants who submitted an RFP for a manpower study to determine minimal manning based on existing ranks for the Alsip Fire Department. And
So we had submittals from a company called Dynamics Consulting Group. The second submittal was from Illinois Fire Chiefs Association, and the last was from McGrath Consulting Group. I sent everyone a quick breakdown of what I saw in the submittals. Dynamics said cost not to exceed $19,900, and basically it was just a minimal manpower study based on existing ranks. Everyone did the same. Illinois Fire Chiefs Association offered two models. The first one being scope of work was an analysis of the agency's response profile. This is completed by conducting a performance analysis with predictive modeling, which examines historical service demands and current response system performance to establish performance benchmarks. That cost us $49,400. Alternative option one was including maps and data analysis as well, and then they got down to option two was what we were looking for was the scope of work is an analysis of the agency's response profile based on local RMS information. This is completed by conducting a review of agencies' RMS. Chief, can I ask again, what is RMS?
Record management system.
Record management system. Current deployment models, staffing, and any documentation related to staffing. The Illinois Fire Chiefs Association will review the information and make deployment model or models and apparatus staffing configuration recommendations. The agency will be responsible to apply any options as it fits their emergency services delivery standards, public expectations, and financial commitment. And then finally, McGrath Consulting, they were doing a full study, and we weren't really looking for that as well, though, too. The foundation of the study it was a comprehensive analysis of current shift staffing methodology, distribution, roles, and responsibilities of those individuals. Options should be explored with focus on enhancement of services, if appropriate, and long-term organizational stability with an eye on financial accountability and cost. We weren't really looking for all that. And I appreciate what they offered, but we were just looking for a manpower. The question is, do we need additional manning, or are we consistent with what the existing ranks requirement is at this time? Are we staffing properly? Chief, did you have any? You looked at this. Did you have any input? Anything you want to say about it?
No, I know what, we talked about negotiations, try to justify either position or however you want to look at it. I don't know anything about Dynamic. I know about the other two companies. They're really good companies, not tied to either one of them. So it's pretty much up to board with what they want to do based on the recommendations we brought for the manpower study.
Has anybody reached out to these companies to find out when they could do implementations?
When they
And
could
submit a
do?
report.
Between January and February.
Yeah,
Well, I remember you had included in our memo that McGrath couldn't get the report done in time.
McGrath, according to their submittal, and that's what I put. I did speak to Dynamics, and they said they could have it done by mid-January. Illinois Fire Chiefs Association, according to what their submittal said, their projected timeline, local agency data review, 2 to 4 months. So again, they're going to be right there. They're going to be right at January, February. And then McGrath, this firm, they said proposed schedule is anticipated the project will take approximately 5 months. Right. And again, I think they were doing more than what we asked for.
And that's because of the scope of the project. It's about what it normally is, about 6 months to do a full study like that.
Mm-hmm.
So is option 2 from the Chiefs Association the same parameters as the Dynamics Consulting?
I would say yes.
Does the non-compliance of the bid bond or the check preclude them from the bid?
I checked that, trustee. I asked myself the same thing. I checked that right before we came in here, and
Not in there.
I would think, though, because this wasn't a formal bid,
No, it was only an
that the
RFP.
bid bond is not required.
Right.
right, we didn't include it in our actual RFP request.
Okay.
So I said the same thing because Clerk Harding had on there that Dynamics did submit a bid bond, but that we didn't actually ask for it and stuff yet too. So Again, just very quickly, what our RFP said was the Village of Alsip is requesting a request for proposal to determine or verify the minimum daily staffing at the Alsip Fire Department. Project description said we are asking to conduct a study to determine the recommended minimum daily staffing of shift personnel. This study is limited to shift personnel at existing ranks. Additional information required, we put on our number 1 was information and qualifications to conduct the study, which everyone did provide, I saw. Number 2 was provide a list of current and past customers, and they had done that as well then too. Number 3 was provide pricing, which obviously they did, and number 4 was provide a process used for the project, and I believe both companies did that as well too. These proposals were submitted on time as well too. So really, it's just a question of which company we'd like to use, is Dynamics or Illinois Fire Chiefs Association. Based on what we asked for. And again, I appreciate what McGrath put on. They're a good company. I know a lot of villages use them. I've read up on this, but I think their scope of work was more intense than what we were looking for, that's all. Bottom line is, the timelines are kind of similar. Like I said, I called Illinois Fire Chiefs last week, but they were at the convention that the chief was at, so I physically couldn't speak to anybody last week when I was putting this together. And they were all down in Peoria for the week and stuff yet, too. I did speak to the people at Dynamics. They're based out of Florida, and she was very excited about having an opportunity to do this kind of work as well then, too. Cost-wise, they're $50 different, yeah. I mean, so they're right there as far as the cost is concerned. And just very quickly, Dynamics submission letter was just to say that Dynamics Consulting Group understands that the Village of Alsip is requesting a study to determine or verify minimum daily staffing of shift personnel. Dynamics Consulting Group further understands that the study is limited to existing ranks, so they understood what we're looking for. To achieve the stated purpose of this project, Dynamics will provide data and information requests to the Village of Alsip and key stakeholders during the initial kickoff meeting via GoToMeeting, so we'll do this virtual. At any time during the study, you may request a meeting with us to review any element of the project, because we understand that your time is valuable, yada, yada. Once the requested data is uploaded, Dynamics will review and/or process data and information to build an initial baseline of current conditions within the village. Once this is accomplished, typically within 4 to 6 weeks following the data upload, Dynamics will conduct a site visit to ground truth of the information contained within the current conditions, clarify and refine any information may be missing from the initial data upload, and so forth. There's just a lot here, folks. Both companies submitted, and it's a lot of reading, let's put it that way.
Yes, it was.
So, bottom line is, did we want to use the Illinois Fire Chiefs Association, which obviously has a lot of experience here in the area, project experience from Dynamics. They've done these all over the country, private and public sector. Agency evaluations, community risk assessments, cooperative services, master plans, strategic plans, station locate plans, staff studies, miscellaneous studies, and ISO evaluations as well. And I did speak when I called. I spoke with Mary Ellen Harper, and she's the project team manager. Anybody else have any comments on this? I do have the setup following this meeting, because we need to get this done as soon as we can, because we don't meet for another couple of weeks. So I do have the setup following this meeting to vote on whichever company we think we want to award this to yet too. So I'll tell you, before we take a vote, if everybody wants to think about this, we'll take a consensus as far as, Dynamics or Illinois Fire Chiefs, and we'll vote on that particular organization now, okay? 'Cause obviously, price-wise, they're almost the same
I would
price.
say, yeah, price-wise, they're the same. I'm reading their proposals, they're extremely similar. We're going to get basically the same information back from either one. Definitely, the Illinois Fire Chiefs Association has more experience within Illinois, but at the same time, I also know that the union has expressed objection to us using them. So from my perspective, all other things being equal, if they're going to object to the fire chiefs, then I have no issues with going ahead and using Dynamics.
I also don't want to put it out there and using the Illinois Fire Chiefs and then spend $20,000 for nothing. Because
Because they argue it, or...
because there is a sense of bias, perhaps, that may be questioned.
Chief, I think I know the answer, but I'll say it anyway, but do you feel there's any type of bias? I know you're a member of the organization with fire chiefs, but you don't necessarily work there or anything.
No, I have nothing to do with the consulting or any part of that. But they're also the ones that were going to arbitration over the promotional exam from almost a year and a half ago.
You're right.
Yeah.
Okay. You're right.
Like I say, either one will provide a good service. They're both good companies.
Thank you for reminding us about that too, Chief. You're right. Okay. Let's,
I think to eliminate that shadow of doubt, same dollar amount, the proposal from the first looks like it's going to be a fine thing, and for $50 difference, I like the idea of going in it and unabated.
no, I appreciate
with
that, yeah.
Real or perceived.
I will agree with that.
Okay. So, how about, I'll just
Do that at the end of this meeting?
All right.
So, well, that's
So-
the next meeting.
It'd be for the special meeting then.
So that'll be
Based
to
on
award Dynamics.
what we just heard comment-wise, it'd be on Dynamics.
Mayor,
That's all I have, sir.
can I just say one more thing? I did read, I thought I read somewhere that Dynamics is located in Central Florida.
Right.
I don't know if the hurricane has anything to do with them complete, or making the timeline.
She
I'm
didn't
just
say-
throwing it out there.
Trustee Perez, she didn't say that that would have any effect on that.
Okay.
And I did physically speak to her last week.
Very good.
Yeah, Mayor talked to him after the hurricane came through,
Right.
so.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, very good.
And I just remind her too, even where we were at, we're on the south side of the city. Them coming in, we're 15 minutes from the airport and all that kind of thing yet too, so. No, she didn't seem to express having any issues with any of it and stuff then too. And we do have a cost not to exceed. So there's no extras or anything like that we should anticipate.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Chief. You
too.
also.
Good night.
Thanks, Chief.
Trustee Murphy, anything else?
No, sir, that's all.
Okay. Thank you. Then we'll go to Police and Traffic Safety. Trustee Dalzell.
Nothing for this evening's
Okay.
meeting, Mayor.
Thank you. Public Work and Boat Launch Committee.
No report, Mayor.
All right. Sewer and Water Committee.
No report, Mayor.
All right. Health, Building and Health, Trustee Parada.
No report, Mayor.
All right. I know we're working with Trustee, our village attorney, I don't know why I always want to call him a trustee, but Mike Kankar is working on that amendment that we discussed for building permits and stuff, so I hope to have that ready for the next meeting in 2 weeks.
All right.
Next, Human Resource and Insurance, Trustee Murphy.
Nothing other than the business that was discussed. I have nothing else, sir.
I don't believe, actually, I don't know. Clerk Harding, did we get any applicants, do you know, for the building position job yet?
No,
We
not
did-
that I have been told, no. But I can check with Erica tomorrow.
Okay, I didn't get an update on it either. Okay. Economic Development Committee.
I have nothing this evening, Mayor.
All right. I will report that Last week, had a couple of conversations with Firewater, and they are pouring concrete out there, and they're going to town. They're putting in their parking lot right now and stuff then, too, so hopefully that's moving along. And we're looking, Roger Early and I are looking forward to meeting with Taco Burrito King. They put up some construction fencing. We want to start seeing, they got to start applying for all their permits right now, all that kind of thing, so we'll see where that from.
I do have a question. The billboard that's in front of that building, is that going to stay, or?
It's going to
No.
stay till it expires.
Yeah, no, I think he's got a lease until 2023.
Okay.
And what they do is they constructed kind of like a, they're ready for that to come out, and they can drop their own in there once that comes out. But they have a lease until 2023.
Okay.
Next, ordinance, we already handled, or, no, yeah, we already
Village
talked about.
properties.
Village properties, sorry.
I have no report this evening,
Okay.
Mayor.
Ordinance legislation, we did already. Trustee Peretta, anything else you want to say?
As far as ordinance and legislation, no, everything is good.
All right.
Thank you.
Next, planning and zoning and licenses committee.
I have a presentation of a list of licenses dated October 10th, 2022 through October 21st of 2022. And within that list of licenses, I would like to welcome Diva Made Customs, who will be a retail custom apparel shop located at 4006 West 127th Street. That's all I have, Mayor.
That's great. We'll have to see if they sell socks there, because you can't buy socks in our town and stuff, you know?
I think it says something about custom-made T-shirts and the logo stuff.
Okay. Hey, also, well, I can say it here, under presentations, petitions, and communications, went by it today, and it's looking really good. We finally got the permits and everything from IDOT, and they're putting in that stack lane at 127th Street at the gas and wash. That's going to be great. It's going to
Yeah.
eliminate a lot of traffic
Oh,
at
yeah.
that corner and stuff then, too. So now when you come up 127th Street, you can get over much easier than everybody fighting to get down Costner Street to get around the corner. It looks good. Anybody else have anything they wanted to share? All right. Any unfinished business? How about any new business? Then can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We're going to adjourn this meeting at 9:12 PM.